God is telling us in verse 19 of chapter 48 of the book of Isaiah. He starts off telling us that if we had just obeyed his commandments, then further he says, your descendants would have been like the sand, and your offspring like its grains. Their name would never be cut off or destroyed from my presence. So we, as believers, we are supposed to follow the two greatest commandments of the Lord. And when we are not following these two great commandments, instead spending our time in eating, drinking, making merry, smoking, using drugs, doing immorality, and then if we expect the blessings of God to come upon us, they will not come upon us. Just because we are Christians, it doesn't mean that you're going to get all the blessings of the Lord God Almighty, and that your well-being would be great. That will happen only if you lead a righteous, a holy life away from these worldly pleasures. So some people will take the cell phone and watch it whole day on WhatsApp and YouTube and all that in every home. Imagine if everyone has a cell phone and sits with it. There'll be no talking in the family, there'll be no interaction in the family, and the children will break away from their parents. So if as a family we decide to obey the laws of God and to follow him in everyday life, then our descendants would be blessed mightily, just like Jesus says in the Bible, your children and their children and their children, his grace will be upon them up to the 10th generation even of those who obey his commandments and do his will to follow it. And if you follow the way David followed God, despite his problems and despite the troubles he had, he followed God, and God gave him a promise that he would always have a male heir in his family to sit on the throne of King David. And we find God fulfill that because Jesus came from the lineage of David, and he has an everlasting kingdom which will never end. He came the first time to set up a kingdom in the hearts of the people, and he's going to come again to establish a physical rule upon earth, 1,000-year physical rule upon earth from the city of Jerusalem, which is beloved to the Lord. So, do you want blessings of God for yourself and your children? Then let us lead a totally pure and holy life. You see, Christians are known to drink and to smoke and to see drugs. Even in the Hindi movies, if you see, the villains all have Christian names like Tony, Robert, Abraham, and what have you. Yes, you have all these names, and the women who are bad characters in the movies, they are called Dinah, they are called other names which are Christian names and Western names. That is how people look upon the Christian community. So if you want that to change, then you follow the Lord and your well-being will be great. The Christians will be known as a community of people who honor the Lord, who live in the blessings of the Lord, and who welcome him into their midst and into their homes.